So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at layers. We are going to continue with this series of little modular elements for a house, and what we're going to do is now add some layers to it. So if you don't already have layers open, the Layer Property Manager dialog, you can access this either up here or just type LA. Now this came up automatically here on the side, but often that won't be the case. It'll either float or be in another location. So you may wish to use here this bar and bring it into the area just under properties, and it should do something like that. You may need to fiddle with it just a little bit. What we need to do now is to create a few layers for our plan drawing, and we'll create a series of typical and standard architectural layers. And here I'll just start by creating a few layers. You'll see here it just names them layer 1 to 4, and I'll go back to layer 1 and give them a name, and I'll start here with a wall layer. So I'm going to create 2 wall layers, and one for exterior walls and one for interior, and you see how I'm creating them. I start everything with the letter A, which is for architectural layers. Use an underscore as a separator. Wall, underscore, and then exterior, interior. And for the time being, all I'll do here is assign a color to each one of these layers. So this is going to be a color, a default, for all the elements that we draw on those layers. And I'll create a couple of more layers here for doors and windows. And we'll start with that. Okay. And I'm trying to choose colors here which are easily distinguishable, and we'll get that, and let's say that blue is probably a little close to that green, so let's make it a little bit different. Now since we've drawn a lot already, what we'll do is we're just going to take our elements by selecting them like this, and going up to this pull down list here and selecting the layer that we wish our elements to be on. Okay, and we'll see that once we do that, they'll change color. So you can see that the color of these lines, since I'm putting them on the A wall exterior layer, which we've assigned a yellow color to, changes color to that. All right. And here, let's do this for the interior wall, and all the elements here for our door, and finally our window. Now, the window, we can see that there's maybe a little bit of a conflict here as to where we should be putting which elements on which layer. What is basically a part of the wall, what's part of the window. Alright, so what we'll do actually to finish off the window is let's take that center line and put it back, or put it on the temp layer. Okay, so alright, so that's a good start. I've left this line here for the time being. Now part of that line is an opening here into the corridor. I drew it to kind of define the edge of a floor. So we have a line here which doesn't belong to a wall, and we need to make some kind of change there. So let's do the following is let's first of all create another layer, and just call it, and give it another different color and put that. Now, some of this, yeah, is definitely for the floor, but other parts maybe not. Maybe it should be on a wall, or maybe we shouldn't have a line there at all. So what I'm going to do is I've selected the line there and I'm just moving the endpoints. So that's definitely floor, but here maybe not. And so what I'll do there is I'm going to draw part of that line to there, finish it here, and do a little line segment there. So this here and that there, that belongs on the exterior wall layer. Now I'll do one thing here. Here that goes on the interior wall layer, but what I'm going to do a little differently this time, instead of using this list, I'm just going to do this using this tool, match layer. So I had the line selected, now I just pick a layer which I wish that to be on. All right, there's one thing here, needed to be on the exterior wall layer. Actually, these two as well need to be on my exterior wall. All right, I'm going to assign something to the properties of the layers that I've created. I'm going to assign something called a line weight. Now, I don't see that here, and that's because it's just a little bit off the screen, and I need to drag this over so I see a column here called line weight. So you see all the line weights are set to a default, and what we're going to do is we're going to switch this now. We're going to take certain layers where you'd like to have a very heavy line weight. Okay, usually exterior walls you like to have heavy line weights because these are things that are cut in section. Also doors and windows, same thing, but we're going to assign something just slightly less heavy. So I'm going to go down to 0.35 millimeters for those layers. The floor, it's not cut in section, so I'm going to make that thinner, and actually 0.25 is actually the default, but we'll actually assign that so we can see it quite clearly. So layer 0 typically we're not going to see, and also the temp layer we don't want to see. And this actually shows something interesting here in the layer properties, is there is a status that's called plottable, or just plot. So we can actually click here and we say, well, those layers, if there's something that we've accidentally left on them, they won't print. So these red lines here that we have on 0 temp, they're never going to print the way that we've set up these layer properties. Actually, let's set our temp layer to be the current layer. Yes, we've set up these line weights, but we don't see them. So what we need to do to see them is turn on this here button called Show Hide Line Weight. By the way, if ever you get into a situation where you're looking for a button, you don't see it, it's very possible that this button has been turned off. So you have to go here to Customization down on the end and check. Okay, so some of these buttons will be turned off and you have to look for them. Here's the one, line weight. So if this was turned off, you wouldn't see that button and you wouldn't be able to turn it on and off. Okay, so for we put it back on, and yeah, so now it shows us a little bit of a problem because well, our line weights look relatively okay, but there's a few places where it doesn't. First thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this line and I'm going to drag that all the way over there. Okay, so I'll just keep that part and I'll draw a bunch of line segments here. So let's start drawing some lines. And now they're all going on the temp layer. Okay, actually this one don't really need. So definitely these guys are wall lines. So let's match that. Now, how about this one? Is that a wall or is it part of the window? Well, it's probably not part of the window frame itself stops there. This is a line that we see in plan of the wall. So it's not cut in section. So let's put that on the wall layer. But what we're going to do after that is we're going to select it. And we don't want that to be as thick as the rest of the wall lines. So currently this line gets its line weight from the layer. Okay, so right here you can see in the properties the line weight is by layer. We're going to click on that, use that down arrow, and we're going to switch this to a thinner line weight. Okay, and you see what that does. Okay, so that looks better in terms of, you know, basically the drafting techniques. And here we're going to kind of do what we did before and maybe copy a few things. So let's copy this line there, and let's just draw that one. Okay, and draw another one here. Okay, and for the window, we're going to do this in a series of segments. Okay, like that. All right, so this guy here, let's put it on that layer, and we'll just make a big window and put all those on the window layer. Now, so the same deal here. These guys, all right, they're not cut in section. So we want to go ahead and change the line weights. All right, so let's go ahead and change that to something a little bit thinner. And this one, I'm just going to erase and copy these series of lines to the other side of the window. This one, haven't put on the correct layer yet. All right, there we go. Yeah, so I'm going to change this last one here. Also, actually, it's on the right layer. I just also want to give it a very thin line weight. There we go, 0.15. These are 5 basic layers that we use for architectural plans. You're going to use this over and over again. We're going to see how we don't have to create these every time we create a new drawing. Anyway, that's it for our introduction to layers, how they work in architectural plans.